So what's going on, guys? It's Captain America. Hope you guys are well, and thank you so much for coming onto the channel. So firstly, I need to sneeze, man. I've got a sneeze coming through. 2 seconds.
Ale 6 lat grałeś, mówisz?
Okay, and now secondly, what we're going to be talking about today is going to be about this football. So, my god, man, my allergies are just killing me, man. Oh, apologies. And yeah, that's how I sneezed that loud. So, for this game, I was playing more as a central midfielder. You know, as you know from my previous videos, I always play as a centre-back, but we haven't had that many players during the late night, so I was testing out like a, let's say, more like a right wing-back position in like the central midfield position, because we didn't have that many players, so I was playing more defensive. And you know, in this game itself, it was a 7-1 win for us. Again, we were just messing around, but it was a good little scoreline, and I just wanted to post this video, especially as you rarely guys see me like playing as a central midfielder. So just to see, you know, to showcase that I am okay, let's say, in other positions that I play in. So yeah, just an FYI. I couldn't save like the match stats. I think I just got a bit too excited by the result. But from what I captured, I got like an 8.1 like match rating, which isn't too bad. Oh yeah, my bloody allergies, man. Sorry, guys. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about today, while you guys enjoy the video, is just going to be mainly around like Aaron Hickey. So he's a Scottish lad. You know, he moved over from Hearts, the club in Scotland, of course, and then he moved over to Bologna in Italy. You know, at a young age of around like 18 years old. So he was purchased for around like 1.5 mil or something like that. So like a really like minuscule like value, especially for the age that he is. You know, that they bought him at was like 18, and it was during lockdown as well, COVID. So it was always going to be a tough one, especially for like just like any player, not even a Scottish lad, but just like any player trying to like integrate into like the club, not just the club, but like the culture, you know, the language, you know, just the vibes of like how Bologna is, because it was going to be, you know, his first year there. He needs to, you know, integrate as part of like, you know, the team, as well as socialising wherever possible. But of course it was hindered because of COVID and the pandemic, with all these lockdowns and whatnot. So, you know, I was watching this documentary, and he's going on around like, you know, how his career started, how he progressed, and his development side of things. And honestly, I do feel like him as a player, he's fantastic, and he's shown it in the past 2 seasons. You know, this season in the Serie A, he did perform much better than the previous season. You know, he made around like 5 goals with 1 assist, and he played in nearly all the majority of the Serie A matches, especially for like a 20-year-old. You know, he's a left back, and his manager as well is a legendary Italian left back. So he's got that mentorship, as well as like guidance and training, you know, advice and whatnot to make him as a better player. So, you know, his move from Hearts to like Bologna is a great move. And you know, we are seeing more of this with like youthful players. They tend to move away from like the Premier League to like the German league, for example. You got like Dortmund. A prime example is like Bellingham. You've also got another youthful English player in like the youthful ranks of Dortmund as well. And then of course like Leipzig as well being one. Lookman, you know, he moved over there for a bit before. I don't know where he's moved over now. I thought he went over to Everton, Lookman, but yeah, he did move over to, I think, Leipzig or Salzburg, one of the Red Bull teams. But again, all of these English players, I think they finally understood, like, look, if they're finding it hard to get a chance in the Premier League for any loan clubs or whatnot, like, an optional move would be to move outside of like the Premier League, and just to gain experience. Because again, like the physicality, and especially with how many stars they are in the Premier League, it's always going to be quite tough, you know, unless you got like, I don't know, balls of steel, for example, where, you know, your form's always going to be, you know, positive as well as great, you know, that you're not, you know, underperforming as such, especially at a young age. So, you know, it's always good to see players like shoot off to other like leagues, for example, and then move back into the Premier League. And, you know, Aaron Hickey is like one example. Of course, he hasn't played in the Premier League as such, but he was in the Scottish League, and, you know, he moved over to Bologna, and now he's being, let's say, rumoured to have a medical at Brentford Football Club, which, you know, Brentford didn't have a bad season last year. You know, they were one of these, I don't know how to describe it, like a very bogey team. Like, they would score against like the top 6. like it would be a close battle against like the likes of Liverpool and whatnot, like Arsenal and everything as well. Like there was times where I thought they were going to be like, you know, strongly in the middle position, especially how great they done in a lot of the games that they were playing. So, you know, I feel that they're going to be, you know, doing very well with this acquisition of Hickey if he does move over to Brentford. And again, how competitive it is getting with you know, the Premier League. You know, you got Nottingham Forest that have just been promoted over. You know, they've made so many different signings in like key positional areas. You've got Dean Henderson, who had a fantastic, let's say, loan season at Burnley. You know, he kept them, you know, I think mid table, or I think that's when they went for the Europa charge. I can't remember when it was, but he was loaned over from United all the way to Burnley. He had a fantastic season. United took him back, of course, hoping that, you know, he would challenge, let's say, De Gea. But De Gea is a goat, man. Like, he's one of the best, let's say, agile. He's got such cool, like, cat-like agility. As a goalkeeper, especially for like a smallish like goalkeeper as well. He's quite short in height. He's not like someone that's like as tall or as big as, let's say, Alisson or Neuer, but you know, he's got the agility which makes him a fantastic player on that. So, you know, of course it was going to be a tough competition against De Gea, and as we saw in this season just now, you know, De Gea performed fantastically. He was, you know, one of the key performers for United, especially with the defence that United had, especially, you know, the blunder, you know, the machine of, you know, failure, you know, the guy that always makes mistakes, Maguire. I don't know how the hell he's captain, but long may he live as captain of Manchester United. But, you know, he saved them on so many occasions, so it was always going to be a challenge to, you know, Pip. Who is it? De Gea from the position, and of course, you know, he did have games where, you know, he did shine in quite a lot of these games, but I think that, you know, he does need to make a move away from United. I think De Gea is going to be there for another 2-3 years, and then he's going to be like, look, I'm calling it time, man. United, yeah, are just being, you know, poor. I don't see them, you know, like rejuvenating or anything time soon. I think they're still going to be going through like this stage where it's going to be like mid-table like type of positions, and they're not going to be winning like any trophies till they fix a lot of their player mentality as well as like the culture within the club. You know, who is it? Like Roy Keane always mentions, and same with like Gary Neville. I think it's mainly Roy Keane where, you know, they're always dancing around and then like the dressing room regardless of the results. Like there's just too much like showboating, Instagram, social media, and then it's not ideal for the club culture, and it's turned into a laughter. Like it's literally a circus in United, and again, as I mentioned, like may it live like a long time, because these guys thought like they would never ever be knocked off the perch, similar to how Liverpool were, and I'm glad like they're now experiencing it. And with the signings that they're going to be making, I think it's going to be vital, especially in their, you know, drive to like go for the mid-table, and then maybe next year like again build upon their teams. And again, it's going to be a project. It's going to be something that will take a while. And we did see that with like Jurgen Klopp. He's been at Liverpool for years now. And as I mentioned in my previous video yesterday, where the starting 11 of the team that Jurgen started off with at Liverpool to compare to like what it is now is just absolutely insane. Of what he's done as like, let's say, a manager, you know, as a leader, you know, how he's changed the philosophy at Liverpool. Just in general, from like the key signings as well, you know, that we always talk about like net spend for like Liverpool, you know, always being very good. You know, we've made some very important and key acquisitions at very reasonable pricing on a lot of occasions. So, you know, you got Alisson, for example, where the price that we paid him, they were taking the piss, I think, because then Chelsea went for like Kepa for like much more. And of course, our valuation on Alisson was based on like we done our data analytics on this guy, and we do that for all of the purchases, and hence why all of the purchases that Liverpool have made recently have been fantastic. You know, even Minamino, for example, he left, but he scored in nearly all of the cup competitions for Liverpool. I think he scored in all of them. I don't know what it was. The stat was ridiculous, like for his club cup competitions. And of course, it was always hard for him to play as a first-team player in the Premier League. But, you know, as a cup player, fantastic form. And you got Diaz, who's been fantastic. You know, you got Alisson, you know, as I mentioned, you know, Kepa was bought for Chelsea for quite a hefty price. But Alisson has shown that consistently over the past seasons, he's been as a, let's say, a number one contending goalkeeper for club football, you know, along the likes of like Neuer. You've got Oblak has gone down now, downhill, especially over like the current years with Atletico Madrid. I think he's competing against the likes of even Edison's okay. He's not a great goalkeeper, but in the bracket you would put Alisson very strongly in line with like Neuer, then Edison along the sides of like I don't know, being like third best goalkeeper. I don't really rate him. I think it's just like long ball distribution and the way he plays. I think he's a good player, but. Goalkeeper, but again, not as strong, let's say, as Alisson. His one-to-ones, Alisson's, he saved Liverpool so many times, like insane times. Like he's a fantastic player, and you know he's a goal scorer as well. You know he saved Liverpool in general, and you know the Champions League position was up for grabs, and you know we got that, let's say, goal that Alisson scored for us to be in the Champions League this year. And of course, like without him, we wouldn't have been in the final as well against Madrid. So no, I think. As mentioned, you know, I think it's just like overall with United and everything that they're doing, it's going to be interesting to see what he does, Ten Hag, like with the moves that he does make, and one key area would be, you know, will he keep Ronaldo? You know, Ronaldo's publicly now like said that you know he wants to leave United because he doesn't see or the project itself coming very quickly in terms of like Champions League football or like winning any trophies. He sees it more as a long-term, let's say, you know, plan for United to be back at the stage where they should be, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, so I think Ronaldo, it looks very likely that he'll leave, but of course it's going to be challenging because he's at that age now where he's too old, especially with his wage demands as well, and the team styles will have to change as well. Like you've got Bayern Munich that were rumoured for him, but they're not interested because they just bought Mane, and like Mane's like 30 years old. They've got Sane, they've got Gnabry, they've got like Goretzka, they've got Kimmich, they've got Müller. They've got these fantastic players. Like Ronaldo would not fit in this position. He'll be too greedy. Like the way that Bayern play is very like free-flowing passing football. I think Ronaldo will just like make it a bit too greedy, and again I don't know where he will position himself. Would he play like as a centre forward or would he play as a winger? I see him more as a centre forward now because he's at that age now where he can't run up and down the wing as much as he could. So no, I think, you know, with him, I don't know where he's going to go, but one club that is rumoured, of course, is going to be the retirement house, as we call it, with like Chelsea Football Club. Like with Chelsea, they're a unique bunch, man. Like these guys tend to buy like players which are like they're world-class players, don't get me wrong, but they're not at that world-class level that they should be. Like De Ligt is one example where he had an okay season at Juve. Of course, he's made some very important like defensive challenges, as well as like just general matches that he's played and have been great over the past seasons. But like the past season as such wasn't great, and you know, Juve have this like philosophy, and I've mentioned it over my previous videos, where again it's like Chelsea's getting into that stage now where they're getting these old players that I don't think will be suited for the team, especially like they're going for names, they're not going for like potentials that will do well. Like Diaz, he's not a well-known name right away, but you know, Tottenham were, you know, interested in him, and he came to Liverpool, and now look, he's playing fantastic, and he's had some really cool, like really excellent like matches. You got Jota as well, that's come from like Wolves. Again, not a big name, but Liverpool have developed him into a key goal scorer, and even for the international scene. But Chelsea, they go for like De Ligt, they got Neymar. Who else have they got? Like they're looking at like Rafinha, who is like a so-so player, but this man wants to go to Barca. So again, like let's see what happens with like Neuer. No, why do I keep saying Neuer? Neymar, and then you also got like Sterling as well. So Sterling's gonna go through for sure. I don't think Neymar's gonna go through. I think this man, I don't know where he's gonna go. Maybe Juve. I think De Ligt is now rejecting Chelsea, and he's like, look, I think Bayern are interested in me, so I prefer like the Bayern move. But I haven't heard anything strong from like the Bayern side of things. That's going to be a very interesting move if he does go over. That'll really strengthen up the Bayern team, man. Like they're going to be a force, I feel, in the Champions League next year. I think it's going to be Bayern versus like Liverpool final, and that's going to be insane with Mane versus Salah, man. That's going to be absolutely sick, man. If that is the case, I'm like literally, I'm going to that game. But no, so let's see what happens with that. And then talking about other transfers, you've also got the young youthful player that we knew about ages ago. You know, you got Karamoko Dembele, who from Celtic now he's moving over to Brest in France, with the French league, let's say the Farmers League. So that was actually going to be always very interesting, especially as he made his, let's say, debut for Celtic, you know, at a very young age of around like 15, 16 years old. So it was always going to be a case like, are they always going to be playing him as a first team player, or is it going to be a case where they're going to be growing him into the team? So it's going to be, I think he's going to do well. It's just going to be an interesting to see how he progresses in terms of like the French league, how he adapts, and if he does, let's say, do well, because there were some cases of his show reels where he's a fantastic player, but a bit too greedy on some occasions. And again, his height is quite small, so that will be really interesting. But yeah, guys, coming to the end of the video, I do appreciate you guys' time, and yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace and hair grease. Bye-bye.
Hope you could